Hi, Ann Cornick from Paint and Porcelain. I'm here to teach beginners how to get started in China painting and recruit experienced painters to paint along with me. And today we're going to be painting apples. That if you want to order the plate that I'm working on today, I have 5 of them in stock. They're from an estate. It's going to be a 9.5-inch plate. It's really pretty. See that? It has like a triple tier here. There's 1, 2, and then the outer rim. It's $8 plus shipping if you're interested. The study can be shrunk on your computer, the line drawing, if you have a smaller piece. The palette we're going to use. Now, for beginners, I will have a beginner palette on the study as well as the advanced or the regular palette. This palette is Persian or Blood Red. Now, if you're a beginner, you probably only have Pomp, because that's what I recommend. But if you fire with Pomp, it's going to fire out. So what I would recommend is if you only have Pomp, if you want to purchase one other red, the Blood Red is the really good color to purchase, because on a second fire or even on the first fire, it doesn't fire out as much and it gives you a nice depth. So that might be a worthwhile purchase. Chartreuse. This is my warm brown gray, which I love, but you can also use this rich brown that's down here if you have that. You should have moss. You should have, now you may not have shading green. We're not going to use it on this fire, but we will in the future. Silver gray, a yellow. Whatever yellow you have is absolutely fine. And I'm going to use Cool Shadow. You can use baby blue sometimes, and I didn't do it on my initial plate that I painted, but sometimes I find if you put a little bit of the Cool Shadow with the greens, it really kind of makes it look really nice. So I like that. All right. This is what I've done so far. I put this here, and I originally traced it from my drawing because I did a drawing on a separate sheet of paper, and I actually drew from apples. Let me show you. These are the apples that were growing, and so I took a picture of those and I just blew it up, and then I drew from that, and then I put it on paper, and then I hang on here, I gotta get it up there. I traced it onto my plate, and I used this red paper. This is the Saral wrap. Now it's really a nice one. The darker side for beginners is the side you put down on the plate, and then you work on the other side, then you take it off. If you have Saral wrap or you have a graphite paper of some sort, I would just paint from that, because the red doesn't interfere with your brush at all when you're painting. When you put the black on, and I only put it on so you can see where I am and what I'm painting, sometimes your color will stick or build up along these lines. So unless you absolutely are having trouble seeing the red, I wouldn't go ahead and use a Sharpie and put the black on, but that's just an option. Okay, let's get going. This was my first fire already. So we're going to do this one with a little green, this one, and then we'll come back and do that one. And I'm starting with the apple, and then I'm going to work my way up to the branches and the leaves. Okay. I'm going to put on a full load of chartreuse and a side load, just a dab of blood red, and I'm going to start down here on this leaf, this apple. I'm using the blood red because I love the blood red. The blood red really seems to hold out pretty well. And I just want a little bit of color there, not a lot. I'm going to wipe off my color now. I'm going to go back into my mineral spirits, and then into my medium, and I'm just going to go back with chartreuse now, and I'm going to do chartreuse. Now you're going to be, it's a circle, so guess how you paint? Big C strokes. That will get you your circle. Do one direction, come back, do the other direction, pull it up a little. Up here I've got the red, so I'm going to pull that down into the, there we go. And I'm going to put a little more green down here, a little chartreuse down here. Full load of Persian, side load of blood. I'm going to put that up here because there's going to be a shadow from this apple down there. And this is a reverse C stroke I'm using up here. And then I'm going to come down and do the C stroke down the side. And let it, if it wants to feather off on its own, let it. It's okay. You don't have to worry about these. And then I'm going to come over on this side and do a C stroke too. And I'm going to do kind of a pull over here just so we have it. And then I pull it sideways to kind of round out the apple. There we go. So that's my second one. Now I'm going to go back in and wipe out some more highlights, so you don't have to worry about that. I have that planned. Okay, now I'm just going to do a side load of blood red. I'm doing this guy up here. It helps if you turn the apple facing you so that you can see what you're doing. And you're going to do it this way. And then we're going to take a little more blood red. The blood red will not fire out that much, which is one of the reasons I like to use it. But you have to use it very lightly on this first one. C stroke, big C stroke there. Then I'm coming over to this side. This one is the most in the shadow. That's the reason I'm using the blood red. Let me just get this down here. There we go. And then you can pull it back a little bit this way just to give it a roundness to it. I want to get the color over this way just a tad more. So I'm going to pull it up into closer to the leaf there. Okay, now this is the first fire. So don't worry if you don't, let me go back here and do that there, that's better. Don't worry if you don't get exactly what you want on this fire. Keep it light. You can do darker. Darker's easy. If you want to make things light, it's much harder to get things light. Now there's a little divot right here. So I'm going to take a little bit of blood red and go around there. Should put a little more on. I would like it a little darker. And then I've got this stem that's going to go in there. And I'm going to take a little bit of chartreuse and also put in there. Go up here and correct this a little bit. There we go. Okay, and we're going to do this guy now. He has this little divot at the bottom of him. And typically, you make it a little darker above that. So that's what I will do. I'm going to start with Persian though on this one because I don't want to go as dark as these are. And I'm going to pull from the top. It's kind of cool if you get these, see these strokes I have here? If you get that, that's kind of cool. It has kind of a watery color kind of look to it. And I think it really helps your piece, making it look like, you know, you painted it. And then we'll come down here a little bit. Okay. And now I'm going to go over on this side and I'm going to come back around. This is more oval, so your C strokes are going to be larger. But you've got to keep it real pale over on this side because this is the top apple. Okay. I want a little more color up in here. Oops, didn't put enough on my brush. See, I just did the one there. I told you these where these two little guys are. And then I'm going to put a little red at the bottom. I might even make that a little bit of blood red down here. Oops, not dark enough. I'm going to darken this all on the next fire. I'm not going to go real dark on this fire because what I want to have is nice highlights. Okay, so now you hold this away and look at it and decide where you need some highlights. Now, the picture that I'm working from that I took is like this back in here. There's a strong highlight. There's a strong highlight here, which I have. There's a strong highlight in here too. So those are the highlights that I'm going to make sure I have in here. So there's one up here. And it's press and lift. There's one down here. Press, lift, and feather, I guess. And I think that kind of takes care of most of my highlights that I want to make sure I have. All right. Okay, so now we're going to work on the leaves. Leaves are not that hard. They do remind me a little bit of rose leaves. I think you can see them on here. This picture right here. You see how they look? They do have kind of a rose leaf, except they kind of go in the middle. They kind of fold. Okay, I'm doing full load chartreuse, side load of moss green, and I'm just going to put this guy in here. Oops. I just mixed my chartreuse this morning, and it's a little thick, I think. I think I should have put more oil in it, but maybe I can do it by adding oil to my brush. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to pull from the outside halfway through, and then here I'm going to put a shadow right there. And when it's too heavy, you can always pull it out with your brush by going the opposite direction. I'm going to add a little red to it. I kind of like the red on the end here. Let's put a little red. And I want to have a little bit of a, I think you can kind of see that the vein goes all the way up in these. So there, I did the little vein up the center. This is a little strong for me. I'm going to wipe a little out there. Okay. So that's my little leaf that's stuck right there. Okay. Now, next fire, I can do more things with it. I'm going to do these down in here, I think, next. Oh, there we go. Chartreuse, moss green. Oh, you know what? There's just not enough oil, I guess. There we go. Okay. That oil is driving me crazy. That goes all the way down, that line goes all the way down there. And I'm just painting them in. I'm staying light on this one because I have plans to make this a light color as well. So I am going to use my shading green. I didn't think I would, but I am going to use my shading green up in here and just pull the color up to the center. Pull it down this way. And then put a little on the end. You know me, it's hard for me to stay away from the dark colors. I love the dark colors. Okay, so we have our leaves going in, and we have a final leaf down here, which you could do with a little red, and it'll give you a little bit of a brown, but it'll also give you a real pretty leaf. Let me get a little more red on there. See how that looks? Kind of pretty, isn't it? And then we'll just whip it on the end here. Okay. Let me get this guy a little squared up there. Now this, so there are my my leaves. I'm really trying to remember to give you guys a chance to see what they look like. This guy flips over, so I'm going to use Chartreuse and Shading Green. I'm just going to put a little Chartreuse up in here. And then I'm going to take my Chartreuse, mix it with a little shading, and put it down along the base. You almost can't see it, can you? Here, let's get a little darker. There, can you see the turnover? Alrighty. And then we're just going to go around and do all the leaves. They're fairly simple, so I'm just going to kind of whip them off here. You come to the center, go all the way to the edge, because this particular leaf has the vein all the way to the edge. But then when you go up here, to add a little color and a little shading, you're going to have a problem. So you're going to have to, you may erase the edge of it, that's fine. Let me get a little more color here. There we go. Okay. Alrighty, and let's do these two up here. I am using more of the shading green than the moss green. Moss green just didn't show up, I don't think, as well for you. And I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. So you go to the center, tap, tap, pull over. You may have to go back into the dark green. Oops, that's a little dark. Do a little more tapping. And then come down to the edge, Chartreuse, shading green. Now I'm going to add a little bit of cool shadow in here. Let's see what that does. Cool shadow and Chartreuse. Oops, a little too blue. There you go. Cool shadow is another color that always works for me. It's one of those beautiful, smooth colors that no matter what I do, it will always work for me. And with shading green, which has a blue in it, it really makes it nice. Now you're going to go in and do a few of these along the way, if you have a chance, so that it's not real stark with just the middle guy. You go back and you can put those little guys in. And the lower guy here, I'm going to do with a cool shadow and a shading green. Let's see what that does. Oh, I like that. And I'm going to pull some color over this way. I almost put this entire thing in shadow, but you want to leave a little white so you have it there. So here's what I've got so far. I'll pull it away a little so you can kind of see it all. The guy on top here, guess what? He's going to be light. We don't want, this is the dark one, so we're going to make this one a little lighter. We're going to go to the Chartreuse and the moss green. Bring that in. It's easier to paint on a bigger plate. You can paint a lot looser too, I find, on a bigger plate. Okay, oops. It really needs a little more, a little more oomph. There we go. Brown green would work too. So you could use a brown green with the Chartreuse and you'd get a really nice color too. Oh, I'm separating. Now I've got too much oil. And finally, I'm just going to do this one over here, and we'll do it with moss green, and I'm doing a little bit of the red in it. It's not really showing up a whole lot, but there we go. Oops. And then I'm going to come along the edge of the leaf and just fill it in. And then, and if you don't like them, just wipe them back. You can use the top of your brush and just make them a little finer, but you get the idea. Okay, I'm not having good luck with those little guys down the middle. Hang on, let me just get rid of them. Go back and do them with something else. Okay, so here we go. That shading green, you either get it too heavy or too light. It's one of those that's not always easy. There we go. Okay, so I'm not going to do these down here. You get the idea. It's pretty simple. Okay, these stems are green that go off to the side here. You can use a liner, but you want to make them green. Okay, now we're going to do the stem through the middle, and it kind of goes off to the side too. We're going to use my favorite brush. This is the number 4. It's kind of an odd brush, but I love it because this number 4, I don't know what happened to it, but it really got squished. I'm going to go into my gray, my warm brown gray, and I'm just going to start painting the stem. If you paint it and it's dragging and you're not getting the paint evenly on, that's ideal for a stem. You should be so thrilled that that happens because that's really perfect. Okay. And then you're going to put, well, let me get this on here a little more. There we go. Then you're going to put the rich brown and just kind of here and there. Make sure you get it up where the depth is. Oops, come on, rich brown, cooperate with me. So then you can take your Pico-Pay, or if you have a bigger wedge eraser like this, and just put in a little highlight. It doesn't have to be anything too fancy because you're going to be working on this again, and you can add more then. And then I'll do the same thing up at the top. Just go through. Remember which side your light is coming on. Mine's coming this way, from the left to the right. Don't get it too oily, but and you notice how I'm skipping. I'm just letting it skip along the plate. See how it's skipped along the plate? I think it gives it a bark kind of look to it. And then down here, I'm going to do a little more because, of course, that's the bottom. And here it's right by those leaves, so there might be a little bit of a shadow. And then I'm going to come up this way. And I'm going to come up to the top. Okay. And the only other guy that still needs a little attention with my liner is this little guy right here. So I'm going to take a little warm brown gray and just kind of do these little guys here. A little bit. Not much. I'll even pat them with my finger. Oops, that's got a lot of oil on it. Because I want them to sort of blend in. In fact, you might want to take, look, do this instead. Take the blood red, mix it with a little of your brown, and just, there you go. Put a little color in there. Let me smear it up this way a little more. There we go. Okay. And then you're going to take, and that little guy that's coming out there has a little chartreuse on him. So we'll put a little chartreuse on him. And then we'll clean him up. If you're a beginner, on my webpage, besides having the line drawing for today, I have a ton of free information that you can go and get that will help you when it comes to getting started in China painting. And this is a leaf down here. You may not know how to do that leaf. It's a turnover leaf. I'm going to do the center. And then do the outside. Oh, get a little more dark here. And I'm just going to pull this back a little there. And then you'll do the stem, of course, with the little green. Come around and do the stem. Okay. Alrighty. So we did our first fire on our apple. I didn't do these leaves because I figure we've done enough leaves. You can easily figure out how to do those leaves, but it gives you an idea of what we're working from. Next time we'll do the background, and we'll also enrich these apples, make them darker and what have you. There's no stem showing on here. Oh, there's a stem over here. I'm sorry about that. There is a stem. They're kind of a cross between a brown and a green, and you just... I use my liner. I think it's better in the brown. And there we go. So this is what we've done. We will work on this next time. We'll get all these apples a little bit darker, get more color on them, really differentiate them. But it's nice just to get a nice light basic coat on them so you have something to work from. And you'll fire your piece. And hopefully you'll have it available for next time and we can all paint together. So pick up those brushes and keep painting, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed the program, and I hope you'll take a minute to subscribe so that other people can learn more about China painting and we can get the word out to more people. You also can look at the links below. My Paintnporcelain.com website has a lot of freebies and printables for new and experienced painters, as well as studies, supplies, and even some of my hand-painted china. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.